Welcome to This Week in the Division 2, your only source for all the news, posts, build guides and more. Let's be honest with each other. There are a shit ton of Division 2 YouTube videos released every week, far too many to keep up with them all. So don't, because I'm going to do it for you. In this video I'm going to run through every Division 2 video released this week. In the description below I will leave a link to every video I watch so that it's easy for you to go straight to the ones that interest you. And to make this video as easy as possible to use, here are the timestamps for each section. You can also use the chapters below to jump straight to them. Now, I didn't watch every live stream or Let's Play video, but technically, there are too fucking many of them. But look out for the names of them all at the end of the video. Last week's lead story was the surge in Division 2 players following the Battle for Brooklyn DLC launch, the base game coming to Xbox Game Pass, and the game going on sale for just $3. But the big question is whether the player counts are holding. So that looks like a yes, and indeed the Steam player counts, which is just a small portion of the total, remain steady at near peak levels. But I did notice one trend that needed more investigation. Steam reviews remain mostly positive, but when you look at the period since the DLC's launch, there are a lot of negative reviews. So what aren't players liking, and what should Massive be doing differently for future content? And yes, I have been cracking open cans of copium and hoping that more content is coming. And the community has seen some things that... Well, let me finish these negative reviews first. I read a lot of them and I found that there were three key themes. Tuxedo Bandido and I both raised this as a potential issue that new players wouldn't realise that pre-launch these editions didn't come with the DLC. Sadly, we were right. Now you could argue that players should have read what they are buying, but at the same time it could have been made a hell of a lot clearer. And to many, it must have just felt like a bait and switch. I think that we can all agree that the DLC was, well, more Division 2, and some new players found that gameplay loop a little repetitive. To really nail it, Massive needed to include a new replayable game mode, maybe survival. But they went safe, which is understandable given everything going on in Ubisoft and the size of the team that they have. To their credit, there were more new mechanics in this DLC than we have seen in a long time, but a lost opportunity nonetheless. This may come as a shock to some of you. The Division 2 is a buggy mess. Even after Project Resolve and even after 6 years of bug fixes, far too many game-breaking bugs still exist in the game. So there are definitely some things that Massive and Ubisoft should do differently in the future. But I think we also have to take away some of the positives. Many new and returning players came back and loved the game. Force Gaming, who has over 1 million subscribers, streamed the game and put out a sponsored video. When was the last time we saw a sponsored video for the game? And I don't mean content from those creators who have their heads up Massive's arse. The video is more of a Let's Play video than a review, but if it generates more new players, I'm not complaining. And content creators are doing their best to milk the new players. Sorry, I mean support the new players with helpful guides for new and returning players. IKEA took a look at the new journey cache we now get with the seasonal journey. These cache include a full build with exotics, a nice extension to the milestone cache that players get throughout the 1 to 4 leveling process. I mean, the builds might not all be the best, but they will certainly introduce players to new gear sets and build concepts. One of the more interesting new player guides I saw this week was from Time Sausage's gaming channel, who is clearly a new player himself. You know the expression, blind leading the blind. What I found interesting about it were the misconceptions that new players have, and also things that veteran players take for granted. I do worry though for the 10,000 people who watched the guide. Following on from the community reactions last week, You Know the Vibes, Altus Teen and IKEA all put out their thoughts on the DLC. You Know the Vibes and Altus Teen were happy with the DLC given its price and the age of the game, while IKEA's big concern going into the DLC was addressed with Brooklyn feeling as fleshed out as Woney and DC do. And that is true. Brooklyn is a treasure trove of nostalgia, puzzles and secrets. Speaking of secrets, More things are being found, many of which the community do not know the answer to yet. Empty secret bunkers, keys for something that isn't in the game yet, hidden loot rooms, nostalgic echoes and puzzles, and mannequins on the loose in the art museum. Brooklyn has a lot to discover and a lot that is still a mystery. Data mining has unearthed more potential missions that aren't in the game yet, and from the developers' reaction to when the secret bunkers were discovered, maybe these might be coming at some point in the future. The Purist and Lud, Caretaker, Huntsman, Pecan and Catalyst. There is a lot of new gear in the game, and as usual for some creators, any new gear means it has to be the new meta. All I will say is take any such claims with a very large pinch of salt, or ideally with a large spreadsheet, as IKEA does. This week he looked at the Huntsman and flagged a critical issue with how Perfect Frenzy works. Unlike many other talents, like Killer for example, it doesn't refresh when it procs. So if you have 1 second left on the talent when you reload from empty, you are shit out of luck for the next magazine. IKEA has looked at Streamline and Caretaker in previous weeks, and while not meta, they are good. So when you do see build guides with these weapons, take a second to consider whether it is the overall build, rather than the new item that is making a build good. This is particularly true for the Catalyst mask, which is still bugged and not working. In theory, it's a pretty good exotic, delivering weapon damage, bonus armor and reload speed. But is it better than Coyotes? Depends on the weapon you use, something many build guides are not talking about at all. Keep an eye on the event timeline. Last week was the 3x XP event, a great opportunity for people looking to increase their shade level. But of course, by the time this video comes out on Wednesday at 5 AM, it's already over, making this section like a lighthouse in the desert. Brilliant, but fucking useless. There are plenty of guides covering the best farming techniques for this event, so take the time to study up before the 5x XP event hits us in 3 weeks time. And speaking of events, don't forget that global events in the Division 1 are still running. Christmas never ends in the snowy streets of New York. Apparel was the subject of the rest of the videos this week, ranging from free to eye-wateringly expensive to rewarded items. Before we get into all the videos, a quick aside. YouTube's algorithm is fucking weird. Run the same search twice and you'll get different answers, and I found some videos just didn't appear. The same goes with this video. If you don't subscribe, you might never see any episode of it ever again. More build guides are published than any other video type, but which build is good and which is not? This is the 12th week I've been creating This Week in the Division 2. Pretty much every build guide that I see is just a variation on something that's been done before, or in some cases, something that has been done before and by the same content creator. So rather than run through each build as I have been doing, I'm going to focus on any changes to existing builds that you should know about, new gear that is appearing, and any builds I think that are unique enough that you should have a look at them. I will still leave links to every build guide in the description. There were 2 key trends in build guides this week. As I mentioned earlier, whenever there is a new piece of gear in the game, expect to see some of the following video titles. New meta. This combo should not exist. God tier. And this is broken. The reality is that most of the new gear when it works is good, and if you slot anything onto a striker build, it's gonna hit hard. The Caretaker with Perfect Killer does deliver damage similar to the Lexington with Killer, but suffers in comparison with poor accuracy. Streamline is a strong talent, but you do lose out on any skills, and that includes shields, so if you see it with a shield build, run the other way. When everything aligns, Perfect Frenzy can compete with other top weapon damage talents, but an AR is not the right weapon to do that with, making the Huntsman a good secondary weapon at best. And when the Catalyst is working, it will be a good mask with weapons that won't benefit from Coyote's critical hit buffs, like SMGs. Speaking of SMGs, Backfire is shaping up to be the weapon of the season. A quick aside, I put out this video the week before the Brooklyn DLC came out. Yes, it's a Backfire build, which was an update on this video I put out in January. Great for everyone else to catch up on this weapon, which has actually been a top tier weapon since the title update 22 buffs. Shame no one watched them. Anyway, Backfire works great for the Brooklyn DLC with a Hasbro build, and the new seasonal passive modifier Safety First. Strikers is the gear setter choice of it due to the multiplicative nature of its damage buff over something like Umbra that is just adding more critical hit damage within an already very full multiplier bucket. There are two things starting to appear in build guides that I think might be a key part of this season as it progresses. Firstly, there are a number of passive modifiers that make tanky builds very strong, whether it be Safety First, a tier a day, or extra padding that I used in my build guide this week to get to 78% protection from elites. These sort of builds are making heroic, master and legendary content accessible to all players, and trivial for some. And the other thing is the smart cover, which has the potential to deliver some incredible buffs. If you can get your teammates to stay in its radius, that is, and not just walk off to their death. I'm going to leave you with one thing that I really want you to remember, agents.
Kelso had to go.
Kelso had to go, said it was safer for us if she's not here.